Welcome to Millennial, the home of pretend adulting and real talk. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura. And I'm Pamela.
And we're going to start the Dumpster Fire Corner this week with a bit of Hollywood tech news. So, as everybody heard, Netflix was trying to acquire Warner Brothers, and it looked like they were going to. They were battling it out with Paramount. Netflix ended up winning temporarily this fight to acquire Warner Brothers. But Paramount would not let go, and they came to WB with another offer last week, and WB ended up accepting their offer. So now Paramount is going to be buying WB because Netflix had already made their best and final offer. It was really shocking because it seemed like this battle was finished. But this was also shocking because this is really worrying, at least to those of us on the left. And it's mainly because of the Larry Ellison Trump connection. Paramount is led by David Ellison, who serves as the founder, chairman, and CEO of the company, with significant financial backing from his father, Larry Ellison. Now, Larry has close ties to the Trump administration. Larry Ellison is a financial backer of the president. And Trump has, as we've seen, praised changes to CBS News made under David Ellison's pick for editor-in-chief Barry Weiss. And then, of course, I think we talked about this last year, Stephen Colbert's Late Show is ending in May. And CBS claimed that it was to save money, but most think it's because of Trump's influence over CBS Paramount. So CBS Paramount is now going to have ownership of WB, and you have to wonder what they're going to be doing with arms of WB like CNN and HBO and Warner Brothers Films. People are concerned, for example, that CNN could become more right-leaning or that WB and HBO could change for the worse. I mean, why bother greenlighting a Heated Rivalry type of show when you're anti-LGBTQ? And, generally speaking, big mergers of two companies are bad. We don't like that. We want more competition. So does this scare you too? Like, this just left a pit in my stomach.
Oh, totally. And I think, I believe it was one of the Ellison brothers flat out said that if they won out on this, that CNN's coverage would become more Trump-friendly. So, they're not even really trying to hide what the agenda is going to be there. Yeah, I mean, that has huge trickle-down effects for the media that we all consume every day, whether it's cable news or entertainment.
So, there's the caveat that this deal might not even go through at all, but given that it's Trump in the White House right now, he's probably going to allow it to happen if he gets the concessions that he wants, if there's any concessions at all.
Right. It would be the Trump Justice Department that would have to prevent this from happening, and it's the same Justice Department that is still hiding Epstein files, so confidence is not high in them doing the right thing here.
Well, any good news this week, Laura?
No, unfortunately. So buckle up, y'all. Over the weekend, Trump and his bestie, Bibi Netanyahu of Israel, attacked Iran and took out their supreme leader in what is being called Operation Epic Fury.
So tacky.
I'm not kidding. That is literally what they're calling it. The strikes were done, according to our Department of War, in order to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. But I thought that all of Iran's nuclear capabilities were obliterated last summer. That's what the White House official site said. In fact, that article is still up. It says Iran's nuclear capabilities are completely obliterated, and any news to the contrary is fake news.
Yeah, and it was very quickly leaked that their nuclear arsenal was not obliterated at the time. But of course, they didn't want that internal report to come out.
But I think that we really have to talk about what all of this means, but also some of the historical parallels. So the civilian toll is already pretty catastrophic. 787 Iranians have been killed, including 165 schoolgirls and staff at an elementary school. I'm sorry, you don't get to brag about our military's precision and then write something like this off as collateral damage.
Which he also said about the American servicemen and women who have died already. He said, we're
Yeah.
going to probably lose a few Americans. That's the price of war.
Right.
And then he went and talked about the White House straits.
Yeah, and I mean, nobody's being committal about how long this is going to last. You know, Trump's trying to say it's going to be just 4 or 5 weeks. Hegseth is over here being like, oh, we might have to put some boots on the ground, but we don't know yet.
I don't believe the 4 to 5 weeks things for a second. Do you two?
No.
It's going to be double at best. Or, yeah, it's going to be another forever war. It kind of feels like right now.
As a matter of fact,
I was just going to say the worst part about that is that, like, I mean, history shows that Americans don't tend to like to, stir the pot on election years when there are wars that are happening. So that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I will say, as of right now, American support for a war in Iran is very low. Just 1 in 4 Americans are in support of this.
We just pulled out of the area, not long ago. So, of course, nobody wants to go back.
That poll number, just 1 in 4 Americans support the war in Iran, is striking, especially because that poll was taken right around when the war started or right before it started. This is before 165 schoolgirls were killed. This was before 6 American military members were killed. This was before seeing Trump's lack of a vision for this war. Like, I think this number is just going to continue to plummet in terms of how this is going to poll. If you look back at when Americans were surveyed about going into Iraq, 66% of people approved. That's a lot higher than this number is at the outset.
That was also in the wake of 9/11.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so Americans were a lot more primed to be supportive of that kind of thing. And also because so much of that was, even though, like, us invading Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11, but it all still got linked together. There was also this thread of, like, Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. And it's only going to be 6 weeks. And hey, we have George W. Bush standing under his mission accomplished banner after 6 weeks, except the war actually went on almost 9 years.
Yeah.
That we were stuck there, like thousands of U.S. military and contractors killed, tens of thousands injured, hundreds of thousands of Iraqi civilians killed. Like, I don't even think we know the true number of how many Iraqis were killed in that war. And there were no WMDs. Oops, our bad. Don't worry about that. So it feels eerily similar, and like time is a flat circle all over again. There's a lot that could be said about this, and certainly we'll touch on it in weeks ahead. But something I did want to call out, just because I know the price of gas is something that this president and this administration likes to point to as one of their success metrics. Well, that price is about to go up because of all of this, because 20% of the global oil supply moves through the Strait of Hormuz, which runs between Iran and Saudi Arabia. And traffic there has been halted and ceased, and even some of those boats have been attacked. So prepare for your gas prices to go up, everyone.
Yeah, and the polling's going to continue to get impacted because of that as well, negatively. But in some lighter-ish news, the Texas primaries are happening today, March 3rd, and we're excited to see if James Tellerico or Jasmine Crockett pull it out for the Dems. They're both pretty exciting candidates, and we'll just have to see. The polling's been pretty tight that I've seen.
Yeah.
Between them.
Seems like it has been, but we'll be watching throughout the episode tonight. I don't know that anything's going to get called.
Probably
while
not.
we're on air, but we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, for sure. I do have an announcement that I want to share with the listeners. I did announce this last week for patrons. I'm going to be leaving Millennial at the end of this month. The good news is the show is going to continue with Laura and Pam, and they're going to have more details about that in the weeks ahead. But my final episode is going to be the one that airs on March 25th. For me, and maybe y'all have picked up some hints of this on air over the last year or two, I've been very fortunate to get really involved in the world of podcasting. And a lot of this work is happening behind the scenes for shows. And as everybody knows, you know me because I've been on air with you all for the last 20 or so years. And for me, it just feels like it's time to move more behind the scenes and focus more on that behind the scenes work. So that's what I've been working on over the last couple years in particular. And I'm very optimistic about that behind the scenes work in the future as well. So I just want to focus there. In After Dark on our Patreon, I spoke more about this last week, and we're going to talk about it more today in After Dark because we asked listeners to submit their final questions for me. And I got pretty grim about it in the Patreon post. I posted a photo of a grave.
It was a very shroudy photo that you picked.
Yeah, at least one person really appreciated it. I think I've been watching the
I just want to
Traitors.
know, what did you search to, like, what did you search on Google to get that, like, grim, dark tomb?
Dark graveyard or something like that. I don't know. I've been watching too much of the Traitors, I think.
I appreciated it.
Thank
It's
you.
very
Thank you.
gothic.
Somebody else in the comments laughed at it. But yeah, you know me, I like to be dramatic. Also, as an aside, because people probably will be wondering, I am going to stay on air with MuggleCast. I want to be a part of the hype around the Harry Potter TV show. And so that's one big factor there. So yeah, that's my announcement.
We've talked about this on the show before because we've had hosts leave before, right?
Yeah.
Like, life changes and people move on, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're proud of you and definitely wishing the best in all of the endeavors you have going on. I say that like we're never going to see you again.
I know.
The thing is, like,
it just
you're
feels
not
like a
going
formality.
anywhere.
Like, we have to say it
Yeah.
because if not, people are
Yeah.
going to be like, "Oh, Pam and Laura did not wish Andrew well."
Oh, yeah.
They
No,
always wish you
people
well.
are going to be like,
Yeah.
they hate each other.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
which is not true at all. And everybody has been super supportive too. Like, I was reading through the messages people left,
Yeah.
and everyone was like, "Oh, we're gonna miss you, but
yeah.
we get it. If it's time to go, it's time to go." So
Yeah.
that's growth all around, isn't it?
Yeah, the comments have been so sweet, and it doesn't feel like a goodbye because it's not like I'm disappearing from the internet. I'm still going to be online in various capacities, and obviously I'm
And
going to be talking with you
and
too.
Laura have a whole ass other show, so it's like
Yeah.
a lot is not
Right.
really going to change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't fully feel like a goodbye for me. It would be one thing if I was like leaving podcasting forever or
If you were
something,
gonna-
but it
if
really
you were actually going to disappear into the woods.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my
Yeah.
ultimate dream, but I'm not there yet. But that said, it has been an amazing 11-year run here on the show. 12 seasons, 11 years, and I'm so grateful for everybody's support and listenership over the years. And like I wrote on Patreon, it still blows my mind that we have had support from listeners over the course of the Patreon and the show. I mean, we launched the Patreon and the show at the same time in 2015. And, just having your support over the past 20 plus years is just really humbling. And I can't believe it. I really can't. So
I know.
thank you, everybody. That's all I can say for now. But again, I don't want to do a whole goodbye thing. It just feels weird.
Yeah, it's okay.
But if y'all want to like email me and say goodbye, that's fine too. I'll take the emails. I'll reply
You're like,
to
I
you.
want the attention, but I don't want the attention.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Should we be playing that song "We'll Meet Again"? Don't know.
I thought you were gonna go Vitamin C's, the graduation friends.
That's what I
song.
thought you were gonna say.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about HBO's Heated Rivalry. We've been trying to figure out how to incorporate this into the show for, probably since like tail end of last year when the show premiered, because a couple of us have been watching, and I mean the show's really taken off. and it's still pretty relevant in the news. Connor's story was on Saturday Night Live this last weekend, absolutely killed it. So that definitely brought a little bit more attention back onto the show. Also, hockey dominated at the Olympics, both on the men's and women's teams as well. So it's pretty timely on that front. And then I also saw this article on Vulture just at the end of last week that was talking about how Hollywood is already on the hunt for the next Heated Rivalry. And that probably comes as a surprise to nobody, because whenever you have a juggernaut hit, obviously everybody is looking to recreate the magic and get a little slice of that pie. But according to HBO boss Casey Bloys, he's actually recommending that people step down and saying that recreating that magic won't be so easy. So I wanted to read what he had to say and then get your all's take on this, because I think that, like, while he makes a good point, this is probably not the reason why any of us would say, Hollywood, don't rush to try and, like, reheat the nachos. You know what I mean?
So, people have been calling their rewatches of Heated Rivalry reheats. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah.
But that's cute.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
very
that.
cute. So here's what Casey Bloys has to say, and he was the one that bought the rights to the Crave original as well. So he said, the wrong lesson to take from the show's success would be to have Heated Rivalry in baseball or Heated Rivalry in football. It can't be replicated. That would be the exact wrong message. So yeah, basically he's saying that this is one of a kind. And even if that's what he believes, that greenlighting more sports romance is the wrong move, the reality is that sports romance has been having a major moment in the publishing industry. And while the subgenre isn't necessarily new, a resurgence in its popularity has been happening for the past few years. So it kind of felt like it was only a matter of time before we got something like a Heated Rivalry on our screens. Book Talk in particular is in part to thank for this. Y'all might remember that hockey romance in particular was having a major moment on that platform just a couple of years ago. We even talked about Icebreaker here on the pod on episode 1009.
That's
and Kira Lewis, who you guys have had on MuggleCast before, also has probably a lot of her Book Talk popularity to thank for like covering hockey romance in particular. I remember that was kind of like the first time I ever saw her hop on to my feed, at least as well. So it's been around, and it's just kind of taken many shapes and forms. And now we're at the point where Heated Rivalry is probably the biggest show on TV, one of. So I wanted to ask you both about, like, why you think that is. Like, what is it about Heated Rivalry specifically that kind of made it prime for success?
So the first thing that stuck out for me was this is a gay show or movie with a happy ending. Too often, these shows or movies depict gay people going through the AIDS crisis, a bad coming out experience, losing family members, stuff like that. It's just always tragic. So this is one show that, yeah, of course there's drama. There has to be in a TV series. But this is one that just has an objectively happy ending to it. It's a feel-good show, and I think it's something that LGBTQ people in particular have been needing to see for a while. Also, there's a lot of talk I've seen about yearning. The show is about yearning. These two are yearning for each other for years and years. They jump around in the timeline quite a bit in this show. So you finally get that payoff at the end that's just so rewarding after watching all of this yearning.
I will say that's just textbook romance genre. That's also why, whenever you see people talk about 2005's Pride and Prejudice, they talk about the hand flex. Have you heard about this, Andrew?
No, the hand flex.
Oh, yeah. There's a point where Mr. Darcy helps Lizzie Bennet down from the carriage, and then he flexes his hand, and it's you're laughing, but it's a thing.
No,
Laura
sorry,
knows.
yeah,
and that's the whole point. It's like he's yearning, like all it took was like that he touched her hand, he couldn't take it because he was yearning so much for her. So yearning is a thing. It's very much a big part of the romance genre. So yeah, I guess like maybe we're back to yearning, but I don't know if the yearning ever left. It's just like, I think that maybe sometimes people don't like a slow burn. And I think that yearning is like integral to a slow burn.
So. Yeah. Do you think maybe the reason for that is that this is one of the first times that we're seeing so much emphasis being placed on a slow burn for gay men. Because I feel like the way that they are portrayed in popular media is usually not via the slow burn.
Yeah, so here's the thing. It's tough because I think that, and Andrew, maybe you can speak more to this in terms of like gay romance on screen, because I don't think I'm as well versed as that, but I know that like you grew up watching what is it? What was that
Queer
show
as
that you
Folk?
used to like?
Queer
Queer
as
as Folk.
Folk?
Yeah. So maybe you can speak to it from that perspective. But in terms of like gay romance in like fan spaces, which I can speak to, I just think that like a lot of it is like a lot of the elements of Heated Rivalry are elements that have always kind of existed, even if
Yeah.
it's in like slash shipping, for example. So like in the mid 2000s, you had like like people were really big on Sherlock and Watson, or even like Merlin and Arthur. Um, there is also like really popular slash ships for Supernatural and stuff like that. So I think like a lot of those elements you kind of see transferred over into mainstream media, like stuff that fandom already likes, and particularly like things that really resonate with women for some reason, because
Yeah.
women have really kind of, in an interesting way, or in a way that might seem interesting to the mainstream public, they've been a driving force in Heated Rivalry's popularity.
They
So it's
really
not just
have.
like a show for gay men, even though it centers on gay characters.
Yeah. So it is a good point that romance often is about the yearning. I think maybe what's different here is that it is two gay people yearning for one another. And then, they have their hockey teams that are kind of preventing them from doing so. Which again is not the most like original idea on the planet. But I think maybe one thing that's different here is it's two older gay men who are yearning for each other. And typically when you see the yearning in gay media, I feel like it's younger people, gay
Mm,
people in their teens. Look at Heartstopper, for example.
right.
Yeah.
So
Well,
more
yeah,
of a
because
YA
Heated
thing.
Rivalry
Yeah.
spans years. They're like together, but they're not. The yearning is in the confession of feeling. So it's like,
Yeah.
because it starts off as like, oh, this is something that's purely physical, but it's deeper than that. So
Yeah.
that's where the yearning comes in. And the
Yeah.
stakes are higher too. I think that's part of the reason why sports romance can go off so well, even if it is like a straight pairing. Like say something
Mhm.
like Icebreaker, you have um like a figure skater and a hockey player. Like
Yeah.
they're not necessarily rivals, but they kind of are, you
Yeah.
know? So like if you have two opposing sides anywhere, it's very like Romeo and Juliet, except when you make them both gay and they're both famous and they're both in a sport that is
Yeah.
historically kind of anti. It just
Mhm.
like there's so much more at play that is like pulling these people apart than is drawing them together. So that probably makes it more satisfying as well.
Yeah. And I have three more reasons why I think Heated Rivalry stands out. Clearly, I've been spending some time thinking about this and studying the show. First of all, I think the show's writing and the details and the direction are just very thoughtful, and the acting is fantastic too. There are some gay shows and movies that are just like mid in terms of the writing, the acting, all that. So one that jumps to mind is Red, White, and Royal Blue. That is a book to movie adaptation, and that I loved the book, but the movie was just corny. It was just bad, and I was so disappointed. Heated Rivalry feels like a show for adults. And there was a lot of nice little details across the series that fans really appreciated. I was catching all of these details thanks to social media because, as we all know, the show was really hot for a couple of months. People were talking about it on at least my feeds like crazy. I think the payoff with this show is just so rewarding in so many different ways. You wouldn't have expected this type of adaptation to be so good from a novel that's kind of smut. I mean, it is smut.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's just like any kind of romance book. I love a good romance book, but I do think that sometimes, things that like are good on paper don't translate well onto the screen, to your point. So, like, for
Yeah.
example, Twilight, however you might feel about it, is a page turner. But when you translate it onto the screen, you really start to see so many of these plot holes. And I think that tends to happen a lot with romance. Most romance books on average are about 80 to 90,000 words. That's really not a lot when you think about it. So if you consider how that would factor into adapting it into any form, let alone an 8-hour project, I mean, you really kind of have to make sure that there's enough meat on the bones there for it to really hit.
Yeah. Okay, the last thing that makes this show stand out is the guys in the sex are really fucking hot. It doesn't have to be that deep. They're just hot. And this is one reason why the show has worked so well. The sex scenes are so good. I recommended this show like 2 weeks into it airing, and I told y'all it was borderline pornographic. It pivots into something much more meaningful than just sex. That's another beautiful part about this show is they kind of hook you in with the sex, but then it turns into something so much more. And I think that was very intentional, and I really appreciated it.
Yeah. I guess that's what yearning does.
Mm-hmm.
Come for the sex, stay for the feelings.
Pretty much.
Yeah. They must have I haven't read too many interviews with like the cast and crew, but they must have a really good intimacy coordinator, because I do think that like I mean, I know you're laughing, but I have heard from a lot of people online that are like, oh, like not only is like, are the sex scenes really good, but they feel really like authentic and realistic. And a lot of that these days does come down to intimacy coordinating and the choreography, as well as like the actors' willingness to, participate. So
yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. The two actors who play Ilya and Shane clearly have good chemistry on and off screen. But the reason I was laughing was because I saw a joke online that the intimacy coordinator probably had nothing to do because they were organically so good.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Sometimes that's true. Yeah. But they still have to, they're still there to be like, oh, like, just remember, like, some stuff looks like that you think looks good actually doesn't look good on film.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm really glad that you brought up the actors, because I think one of the things, honestly, for me that like really like that's like a key component to what made the show a success. And I think that if this had been made traditionally in Hollywood and not by like a smaller studio, we would not have gotten, Connor Story and Hudson Williams, because they're relatively unknown before this. And unfortunately, Hollywood these days doesn't really like to take a gamble on unknowns as much as they used to. Like, they're more inclined to cast somebody that already comes with a built-in fan base. So I think that like a part of the success really is in that. And in terms of like what sort of impact that like I hope Heated Rivalry has on Hollywood, I hope that it like part of it is like taking a shot on unknowns again, because it really like it just like refreshes everything, and it gets people excited because you want to root for somebody new. You want like somebody new to be excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. And, sometimes there are some actors, and I don't think it's necessarily their fault, but there are some actors who, when they're cast, it's impossible to see anyone but that actor.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, at this point, that's kind of how I feel about Jonathan Bailey. Like, I love him, but I feel like anytime I see him in something, I think of Jonathan Bailey. I'm not transported away and sort of like forget who that actor is,
That's how I feel
like,
about...
That's Jonathan Bailey running from dinosaurs.
Yeah.
For me, that's Jason Bateman. Like, I just see Jason Bateman every time.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
He just plays himself. And that's okay.
Well, that's like Ryan Reynolds has gotten to that point for me.
Yeah.
Because he's just playing himself. It's like that's just Ryan Reynolds on a side quest.
By the way, Connor Story, after watching him on SNL, I'm convinced this guy is an incredible actor. Like,
oh my God, yes.
The real him is so different than Ilya on Heated Rivalry. Like, I couldn't believe it. And he's a great impressionist. He fully commits to every role. Yeah. Just really impressive person.
The stripper skit that he did, the one that he had already come up with before, was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any other things that you kind of hope that Hollywood takes away from Heated Rivalry, like in a positive way? Like, what sort of impact do you all hope that this show has on the industry?
Well, this rush to adapt more books is probably inevitable. Some of them might be good. Some of them probably won't be very good, maybe in part because they're rushing it. I think Hollywood definitely of 10 years ago would be like, is there really an audience for a show like Heated Rivalry? And, this wasn't even though it airs on HBO here, like you mentioned, Pam, it came from Crave in Canada, and HBO just bought the US rights to it. This show was a very small project that nobody could have anticipated what it would turn into. So I think it's a good thing that this is going to open the door to many more queer projects in Hollywood. I just worry that a lot of them aren't going to be very good because we've seen examples of these projects not going well.
Yeah, like you, Andrew, I hope that they lean into what worked here and that Hollywood doesn't sort of throw in and sit kind of like what we talked about at the beginning of the episode, where it's like, okay, let's do Heated Rivalry baseball, let's do Heated Rivalry soccer. Because I do feel like if you don't have a good story behind the premise, then you're just trying to do a copy paste, right?
Yeah.
And that's lazy. And like, we're not going to sit here and say it's good just because it's inclusive, right? It's inclusive is a good, something being inclusive is a good thing, but that doesn't mean that you get a pass for the quality.
Yeah.
You know,
it's only part of the battle.
Right. So I really hope Hollywood takes it seriously, and also that they would focus on quality stories and understanding that, in a world where so many TV shows and movies are like heavy on special effects and CGI, you can clearly have a pretty basic production that's successful if it's just a really good story.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Hollywood
budget was
forgets
very
that.
small for
Yeah.
the show, to your point. And I would say like that's a tall order, because I think that, like, I feel like the romance genre gets a bad rap for being frivolous, as most media does that is geared primarily towards women. But I think there's an art to it. Like any other form of storytelling, like, stories follow beats. Every superhero origin story follows the same beat. That's why we're all probably suffering from superhero fatigue. It's the same with romance. So it really is kind of a tall order to say, like, hey, like, if you want, like, we're not saying don't give us more queer romance or don't give us more queer romance set in the world of sports, but figure out a way to make it original and make it feel different.
And Jenna's saying, and I agree with this, this show was just a perfect storm. Everything worked out in this situation. And Hollywood knows this. There come these shows and movies that are sort of like, I'm not going to call Heated Rivalry once in a lifetime, but maybe like once in a decade. This show is one of those moments. It's like how Hollywood and the book industry, publishing industry is still chasing the next Harry Potter. You're not going to find the next Harry Potter because it was once in a generation. Heated Rivalry is kind of similar in that they're firing on all cylinders. It is a perfect storm. And I think all we can really do at this point is hope that season 2 lives up to what was created with season 1. I'm optimistic it will, but you never know. The TLDR here is trying to create Heated Rivalry again is a fool's errand. It's just like, you're probably not going to be able to, even if you adapt the rest of Rachel Reed's books, because again, it's just a perfect storm.
Well, I wanted to kind of, take a step back and kind of expand this a little bit, because regardless of whether, you were there for the sports aspect of Heated Rivalry or not, it still stands to say that Heated Rivalry and its popularity has had an impact on professional sports. Just last month, SeatGeek reported that weekly NHL ticket sales jumped more than 20% after the show's first episode aired. StubHub reported a 75% increase in ticket searches and a 5% rise in purchases by first-time buyers. So these are people that were interested in checking out professional hockey, or Heated Rivalry in real life, if you will.
You will see
as a
heated
result of watching the
rivalries
show.
when going to
Yeah.
a hockey game because,
Right.
you know, I'm one of these people who thinks this stuff is fake. But the hockey players get in fights on the
Oh, yeah.
ice every game.
Yeah, no, 100%. To put this into perspective, too, this is the largest spike in pro sports ticket sales that these platforms have seen since Taylor Swift started showing up to Kansas City Chiefs games to root for Travis Kelce.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's definitely like hockey professionally is benefiting from heated rivalry. And I'm curious, like, Andrew, since you're probably the biggest fan out of the three of us, like, has this piqued your interest in going to a pro hockey game?
I've gone to pro hockey games in the last few years, even before heated rivalry, including a Pride
Ooh.
Night hosted by the Vegas Golden Knights. And I have to say, it was a massive disappointment to me. We got a rainbow jersey when we go in, but we're sitting there, you know, watching the game for what, 2-3 hours? Not a single mention that it was Pride Night. Not a single mention. And that could be because the NHL has faced a lot of criticism and accusations about being less inclusive. There's been
Yeah.
even accusations of the NHL just straight up being anti-LGBTQ+. They've forbidden players from wearing pride jerseys. They had a ban for the 2023-2024 season on rainbow tape on the players' hockey sticks. Yeah. And then, you know, I go to Pride Night. This was late 2024, I think, to the point of what I'm describing here. You know, there's commentators during the game. There's not a single mention of it being Pride Night. So I'm not going to that shit again.
Sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does make me wonder, though, if the NHL, because I mean, at the end of the day, I have to think their top priority is going to be following the money. You know, what's right
Yeah.
is kind of besides the point for a lot of these big corporations when you talk about the money. But like, I don't know, I think about the NFL, they really leaned into the Taylor Swift of it all. Like they started selling friendship bracelets in the NFL official store. So it just makes me wonder if the NHL will eventually come around to realizing something like this could actually make them more money.
Yeah.
Well, they have a real opportunity to course correct. I am not the right person to fully dive into this, but I know that like the NHL has really scaled back on a lot of these Pride Nights, not just in relation to queer Pride Nights, but also in relation to like ethnic Pride Nights, which are very common in baseball, for example. I can speak more to baseball than I can to any other pro sport, but like if you look at like the baseball season for the Giants, for example, they'll have like Italian Heritage Pride Night, Polynesian Pride Night, Hispanic Pride Night, Gay Pride Night, you know, Nurse Appreciation Night. There's all these events that take place over the course of the 162 games that are played in a normal season. And it's unfortunate that hockey really has scaled back on that for fear of alienating like a few loud voices that are uncomfortable with it. And that's also why you're kind of starting to see a lot of these think pieces come out about whether or not they deserve, you know, the bump in new fans that Heated Rivalry is bringing them. So and then like Andrew's personal attestment to how it was the last time he attended a Pride Night is kind of proof of why people are feeling that way. So yeah, to your point, Laura, like there is an opportunity to follow the money, but I hope that they do it in the right way and that they, you know, cut their losses with this backwards thinking that, you know, like getting rid of all this stuff and staying silent on important issues is better than, you know, trying to be more inclusive of all different kinds of fans.
Yeah. Well, and the NHL commissioner last month, or now 2 months ago in January, had praised Heated Rivalry. He claimed that he binged the entire season in one night. And he talked up NHL Pride Nights, and he said every NHL team has a Pride Night, which is just not true. The comments from the NHL so far are just coming off as hypocritical. And I wouldn't encourage fans of Heated Rivalry to suddenly try and become hockey fans because they don't fucking deserve it right now.
Well, they're also in hot water right now because of what happened with the men's Olympic team. You know, all of this is like good. Like they're trying to course correct with press. down to like,
Yeah.
like you saw like representatives from both men's and women's teams on SNL the night Connor Story hosted. They also showed up. Representatives from both teams also showed up on the Tonight Show together. So it's like they are trying to like showcase that they actually do support women because Trump put them in an awful position. But at the same time, like they've been creating bad press for themselves. So this is just like another nail in the coffin.
Yeah. The irony of the biggest show of 2025-26 being centered around a sport that has been notoriously anti-LGBTQ is pretty interesting.
Yeah. But I do think that like maybe like that's part of the point because you see something like a Heated Rivalry and you see like an idyllic depiction of like how it could be.
Yeah.
And like the hope is that inspires people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
here's hoping. But like you said, Andrew, season 2 has already been greenlit, so there's more heated rivalry to come down the pipeline, and I'm sure this will be the last time we talk about the show here on Millennial.
All right, listeners. Well, if you have any feedback about today's episode, you can email millennialshow@gmail.com. You can also use the contact form on millennialshow.com or leave a comment on Spotify or YouTube or hit us up on social. And if you enjoy the show, we would love a review in your favorite podcast app. Time for some recommendations. So for the next few weeks, I want to re-rec some of my favorite things. And this week's rec is actually building off a previous rec. So I recommended this card game called Flip 7, and it's basically a press your luck type of game. One reason I really like it is it's very easy for everybody to learn, and people of all ages can enjoy the game, though I will warn you that this basically teaches gambling to children. So be warned about that. But there's a new version of Flip 7. It's currently only available at Walmart. It's called Flip 7 with a Vengeance. And it's like Uno No Mercy, if anybody's ever played that one before. It's a more ruthless version of the original game. So it just has different cards in play that can make the game a lot more competitive. So if you've already enjoyed Flip 7, might I suggest checking out Flip 7 with a Vengeance?
I like that you're doing re-recs for your last few episodes. I think that's fitting.
It's like Oprah's favorite things, Andrew's favorite things.
Yeah.
One of them you're going to roll your eyes about, but I haven't stopped thinking about this thing since I recommended it years ago, so stay tuned.
Damn.
Well,
okay.
and also,
is it touching grass?
No. It's stupider.
I was going to say this is actually a good plug for After Dark because somebody did ask if you had any favorite recommendations. So
yeah,
the good news is that everybody can enjoy those as we progress over the course of this month. So
totally. I'd like to recommend Halavita's dry shampoo gel. This is another example of something that I got influenced to buy, but I'm actually kind of surprised at it. So, I think we're all familiar with the original dry shampoo formulas that we're all used to. They're like powder sprays, right? And for me, what gets really annoying about them is the white cast that they leave. And you can get them for dark hair too, but the problem with that is if you run your hands through your hair or anything like that and you get the darker like spray on your hands, it can make your hands look dirty. It's just not cute. But this stuff is literally just a gel that you rub between your hands and then you rub it into your hair. And when it dries, your hair looks pretty damn good. Like maybe not quite as fluffy as like a dry shampoo spray would get it, but definitely looking clean and not greasy. So yeah, I wanted to recommend this because it doesn't leave that annoying cast that other dry shampoos leave.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to recommend a product that I just bought a second of over on Amazon. It's called Clippa Bag Hanger. And if you carry a purse or a tote or anything like that, I highly recommend you think about purchasing this. I have a weird thing about setting my purse down on the floor. First of all, I think that's just ingrained into me because it's my grandma always said it was bad luck, but I also feel weird about putting it behind me where I can't see it. So this is great because then I can just whip this out and I can hang it like on the table, like either in front of me or on the side. If you go into a public restroom and they have no hangers on the doors, you can hang it from the door. It holds up to 33 pounds. It looks like almost like a bangle, and it's really sturdy. It's about $20, but it's one of the best $20 I've ever spent, to the point where I just bought a second one so I can hang it off of like the second bag I most often reach for throughout the week. So yeah, if you're just looking for like just a workaround to not having to put your purse on the ground, or not having to deal with it whenever you go out to lunch or anything like that, then I would highly recommend investing in this.
On a somewhat related note, I've been seeing at the gym in the last few months these magnetic bags. So people it's a bag that holds your water bottle and maybe your phone and whatever else, and it's got a magnet on it, so it attaches to the side of like your cardio equipment or your.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I thought that was really clever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was thinking about I was thinking about you because I know you're a Lululemon girly. And
yes, I've entered my athleisure.
Yeah, I almost bought the other day when I was in Lululemon the little like mini bag that you can hang from your wrist.
Oh,
it's about $30. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's great because it's like just enough space to put like like your ID, maybe a credit card, and like a key, like your house key, if you're just like wanting to go take like a walk or a hike and not carry other stuff with you.
Cool.
But yeah, I thought about you when I was contemplating. They didn't have the color I wanted. That's why I didn't buy it, but I was tempted. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'll take a look at that. Thanks for the heads up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. After Dark starts in a moment for patrons and Apple Podcast subscribers. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.